So we're on this radical path, this path that is about seeing ourselves uncovered, and I wanted to begin by reading this poem. We waste so much energy trying to cover up who we are, when beneath every attitude is the want to be loved, and beneath every anger a wound to be healed, and beneath every sadness is the fear that there will not be enough time. When we hesitate in being direct, we unknowingly slip something on, some added layer of protection that keeps us from feeling the world. And often that thin covering is the beginning of loneliness, which, if not put down, diminishes our chance for joy. It's like wearing gloves every time we touch something, and then forgetting we choose to put them on, we complain that nothing feels quite right or real. In this way, our challenge each day is not to get dressed to face the world, but to unglove ourselves. So we're in a process of ungloving ourselves, of taking off our old coverings, the layers and coverings of our heart that separate us from our life and from the rest of the world. And what's beautiful about this practice is that it is a very detailed map of the uncovering of our hearts and our minds. There are a lot of new traditions or practices in the world, Eckhart Tolle, Adyashanti, and someone just gave me a book, this name I've already forgotten, and it's about the practice of awakening. And what's lovely about this particular tradition is that it's very detailed. It isn't just saying, okay, you are awake already, so touch it. It's like there is this whole developmental path that describes how the heart and mind become uncovered. And what we're doing by being present to our breath and to our bodies is both training the capacity, or strengthening the capacity to be present, so that two things happen. One is that we come into connection with ourselves. The ungloving process begins. That covering begins to dissolve as we become present. Sometimes it feels counterintuitive in this practice, because as we sit with ourselves and we come into connection with mindfulness and presence, our experiences feel worse. Like, this can't be right. There's something wrong with this practice. You know, because my knees hurt, my shoulders hurt, I'm irritated, I'm grumpy. What's so awakening about this? You know, and what we come to understand and see is that it's the relationship that counts. That is, our capacity to be present and kind with whatever the experience is the ungloving process. And that so much about this practice is this shift away from expecting our experiences to be a certain way, to understanding and embodying ourselves in the relationship. That is to say, in our capacity to be present and kind all the time. In fact, what the Buddha says, and this is really different from what Deepak Chopra says and some of the other New Wave gurus, is that our experiences are inherently unsatisfactory. That you cannot find perfection and hold on to it, whether you look at your own internal experiences or whether you look at your external experiences. And we're all old enough to know that already. You know, whether it's our bodies and that they get sick, or whether it's our relationships, or if it's just our own minds, you know, that we cannot control them, that they are a force that has that our minds have their own lives, and we have the challenge of living with that. And so it's like, how can I live with the unsatisfactoriness of my body, of my mind, and then acknowledging the profound unsatisfactoriness of what's going on in the world? You know? So it's like, how do we do it? And the Buddha says, and not just the Buddha, but Kuan Yin and the great enlightened teachers all through the ages say, our mistake is that we keep moving to insisting that it is our experiences that are going to make us happy. They are not. We are going to die. That's the end, the big end of experiences. Our experiences cannot make us happy. However, our relationship to our experiences can. That is to say, that the quality of being present and kind over and over again creates this capacity of being vulnerable and in connection to our life and in connection to those experiences. And that openness and vulnerability brings both a deep connection to the center of life, to the mystery of life, and to a love and joy, and an equanimity in holding the unsatisfactoriness, and a deep calm in holding that. So that when you hear the great teachers like, if any of you have read Deepa Ma, her book Knee Deep in Grace, or the Dalai Lama, you see that both of them have gone through incredibly difficult experiences and live in a profound joy and openness, live ungloved in relationship to their life and all of life. And that's because there is this final release from insisting that our experiences give us something, and rather moving, just like in relationship to our partners, you know, or our pets, you know, or our plants, you know, and move to seeing that well-being comes from how we relate. And when we took the refuge last night, we were taking refuge in our capacity to relate to our experiences with kindness and loving kindness. I mean, with kindness and mindfulness. With energy, with patience, with courage, with all the qualities that we brought in last night. We have that capacity. Those energies lie inside of us, and we come together in a retreat like this because it is the environment that often is most helpful in strengthening these energies and awakening them from our hearts and from lying dormant, more dormant in our hearts, awakening and strengthening them so that they are, they infuse more and more each moment. So, for example, those of you who don't know me, I am more an insomniac than not. I have inherited the history of not sleeping very much, and so last night I didn't sleep. You know, and this morning I was sitting, and because my mind was tired, I just watched the tendency of my mind to move into grumpiness, and then to be grumpy that I was grumpy and tired. And what's so beautiful about mindfulness is that you begin to see it, and you see that there's no reason to do it. There is no reason to be grumpy with my grumpiness and to judge it.